Oh my goodness, yo! I just finished watching episode 6. I'm telling you, I love there was so much skin. Oh, my bad. Ooh. Sorry about that, guys. I got so excited about the episode, I forgot to put on my shirt. I'm sorry. So anyway, this was actually a really good episode, and I know a lot of people may not have been pleased based on what I've heard, but I enjoyed it. So let's talk about it, okay? If you're ready, I'm ready. Brain, mouth, heart, shirt. Yeah, I'm dressed this time, so I'm sorry about that, guy. Well, let's get into it. So get ready. Hey everybody, it's your boy Montel. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, week, month, year, millennium. Hopefully all is well. You guys are watching these, you're wearing this, you're staying this far away, and you're looking out for each other. Don't worry about the knuckleheads. They're always going to be there, okay? Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much to my new subscribers. Thank you for coming into my little corner of YouTube and checking out my videos and seeing what I do. And hopefully you enjoy what I've done thus far. And I've got a lot more things planned. Thank you to my ride or dies who's been there since day one. You guys continue to make me so proud for this content and know that you really enjoy it and you support me. And I will continue to do this as long as I possibly can. All right? Thank you so much. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, okay? Because when you hit that bad boy, that means you're going to be in tune to every video that comes out from me, and you'll be one of the first people to see it. And of course, hit the notification bell, so that way when that bell goes ring-a-ding-ding, you'll know when I put out another video. And of course, like my videos. Please, 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 please. I really appreciate you guys so much, more than you know. I really, really do. It's always been so much fun to do these, especially with Lovecraft Country, because the story is so compelling. The characters and the backstories have actually been really interesting. It's literally watching a mystery. And what I like about this series more than anything else, it creates conversation, especially if someone can observe something that a lot of other people didn't. I've been fortunate enough to catch a few things. And this episode I really enjoy because they incorporate mythology from other countries into the storyline. So we move on into Lovecraft Country episode 6, Me In Daegu. Okay, now of course a lot of people from the beginning have been wondering, who is Tick calling? Why is he calling? The conversation has been really quiet and it's been really truncated. So we're going to jump into that. So this particular tale takes place in Korea. We're going back to the history of when Tick was in Korea for the war, and he was part of the war effort there. Of course, the Americans had to fight with the communists as well as defend other Koreans, and it was war as hell when it boils down to it. So we come from the vantage point of Ji-ah, okay? Ji-ah has been the young lady that he has been talking on the phone these past few episodes. So now we see a little bit more about her. Ji-ah is a beautiful Korean woman who is a nursing student. She is part of the war effort in her country to in the hospital. Of course, what nurses do, they help save lives and make sure that the patients are as comfortable as they can. They take care of the infirmed when they come through the doors. And we find a little more about her. We see her leave and go home, and we meet her mother. Now, things seem kind of cool in the beginning, but then you start noticing there's a coldness and a standoffishness with her mother. And it was funny, her mother just seems obsessed with her bringing home men. I thought, that really doesn't seem... And I understand that they want to bring... mothers want their daughters to bring men home, or in the long-term sense, so that way they can get married, have families, and everything else. But she seemed to really, really rush on this. And she seemed really cold and standoffish. This should be something that's talked about with love and understanding, because this is the next step into a young lady's life in that country, you know, finding a husband and having a family and everything else. But she seemed kind of cold, so I thought there's more to this, and of course there really was. So she's back at the hospital. Of course, we meet her best friend, Young-ja, who is another nursing student, and she's very cool and smooth and cool and everything. And we also see later that Gia is fascinated with musicals and show tunes, because we see her in the movie theater watching a Judy Garland musical. And she loves Judy Garland. You could tell. She even said, I like Judy Garland, I like the movies. And she's really enraptured in that. And people call that propaganda. And to me, movies have always been a getaway for anybody. If you're going through craziness in your life, if you have a favorite show, a favorite anime, a favorite movie, music, if that's your getaway, that's precious to you. And for her, that was precious to her. Mind you, she's probably seen the same movie over and 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 over again. But that's just who she was. And the more we find out about her, the more we start to gravitate to her. But I kept thinking, what else is there? What else is missing? So she goes on speed dating. That fails because these guys don't want a woman who is indoctrinated into American propaganda, which anything Western music, anything like that, to the Korean men was considered a but of course, she eventually goes out on her own. She meets a gentleman, takes him home. I'm thinking, wow, this is moving kind of fast. And she takes him into the house, goes into her room, takes off all her clothes, lays on the bed. He takes his clothes off. He gets up on top and they start doing the do. And once again, I'm thinking, okay, this is going a little bit too long. Then you notice, you start seeing this tendril come out from underneath her, and it wraps around him. And it goes into him. And then you see the other tendrils come around and they hold him in place, hold him tight. They're coming out of her ears, coming out of her nose, coming out of her mouth. And he is held in place above her. The final tendrils come out of her eyes and attaches to him, and you start seeing flashes. Different flashes look like memories. And once it's done and all the memories have stopped, he explodes in this splatter of gore. And then the mother comes back in. Finally, I was just like, okay, what the hell's going on? And of course, my mind went crazy. I'm like, what kind of a creature was that? And I'm going through every bit of lore in my mind from Lovecraft. I was like, this doesn't identify or fit with anything. So it's got to be something native to the culture. Her mother comes in and looks at her and she says, 10 more souls. Look, I said, 10 more souls? What the hell? And then I remember the tales went, oh, yo, this is a spirit she's possessed by. And we find out that she has been possessed by a spirit called a KUMIHO in Korea. In Japan, it's a KITSUNE, a nine-tailed fox. And if you're on board with me when you think of nine-tailed fox, what's the anime that comes to mind first? You guessed it. Right there. Right there. And I lost my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this. And we come to find out, and I'm going to just keep it short, keep it straight, keep it simple. Her mother, she calls her Uma. Her mother was, her daughter, Gia was born out of wedlock. So she's a disgraced single mother, and she meets a gentleman, and they fall in love with each other, or at least he falls in love with her, and the mother's just trying to save her own honor and her own skin. They get married, and things seem fine, but we find out that her husband, Gia's stepdad, is sexually abusing her all the time. All the time. And at first her mother turns a blind eye, which made me really feel some kind of way about her. And I get that you're trying to do this for yourself, and maybe there's some people that can help me understand. But when it comes to your child,
yo, that's not cool.
That is not cool. That is unacceptable to my conscience and my state of being. That just, oh my gosh, as a father, I would lose my mind. I'd lose my shit if I knew that my kids were being subjugated and abused or taken advantage of by somebody who's married into with their mom. Trust me, they would die. They would truly die, and I'd have no regrets about it, okay? My kids are everything. So we come to find out that, once again, she married this man. He was sexually abusing her daughter, raping her and everything. And I guess she got some spurt of conscience. So she goes to the shaman in the village known as a Mudang and tells her, I want to get rid of him. I want to summon a KUMIHO. Well, you summon the spirit, who's going to be the host? Who do you think the host was? It was her daughter. G.I. ended up becoming the host for this KUMIHO. And she gets her vengeance. She kills him. Her daughter becomes her weapon, her tool of destruction. And it shows to human nature that most people will do whatever they want to do to get what they want and justify their actions. You guys have seen this. And this is the way it is now. And some people didn't really gravitate to this episode. I did. I related to a lot of it because I've seen it so many times. So we see that her mother, in a lot of ways, created this situation because of her pride and her sense of honor and not being disgraced. We don't know the whole backstory, so there's nothing we can do about that. But now we find out that in order to get her daughter back, for the KUMIHO to go away, to be exorcised, the KUMIHO inside of G.I. has got to collect 100 souls. Right at that point, we find out that she now has to collect 10 more in order for the KUMIHO to go bye-bye. So this poor girl who's got this spirit inside of her, her mother seems to think that every time she talks to G.I., she's talking to the KUMIHO, not realizing they're in the same body. She is still there. And it's driving G.I. crazy. Like, what can I do? She's treating her like she's an outcast, like she's that dirty stepchild that nobody wants, even though it's her own child. So we move on, and we see there's a scene where, mind you, I'm going to tell you, her being revealed as the KUMIHO and going to do my research as a KITSUNE, oh, freaking brilliant, man. Freaking brilliant. So we go to another scene where the nurses are being brought in on a truck, and I'm thinking, okay, they're taking them to the hospital. American troops come, tell them to get off of the truck, and they tell them to get on their knees. And we find out that there is now something did happen where Youngja was getting a message from another young man, and of course G.I. brought it up to her and says, don't you ever say anything about that. Don't ever bring that up, okay? They're in our country, subjugating us. We're going to do what we need to do. Speaking from the mindset of a communist, okay? We backtrack to that scene. All the nurses are brought off of the truck, put on their knees, and that's when we see the American troop. We see I believe he's a soldier. I believe he's a sergeant. We know what his rank is. And he says he gets intel that there's a communist spy in the hospital passing messages, and it's one of the nurses because it's only happened during that shift with those nurses. So he comes out, he just puts his points, he said, are you, and these women are terrified. They are scared. So he said, who's the spy? Who's the spy? Who's the spy? Points the gun at one of the nurses, blows her away. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Oh, good grief. You guys couldn't come up with anything better to do? What if you come up with these nurses and none of them were the spy? But unfortunately, that's the way war was back then. They just didn't give a damn. They means to an end. The communists are the enemy. Yeah, but you're assimilating the monsters that you're trying to defend this country from by becoming the monsters. That's justification, and that's not cool. So that nurse gets killed, points it at another nurse, shoots her, and G.I. is beyond herself, and they're about to shoot another nurse, and then that's where her best friend Young Ja says, I'm the spy. The soldier who was killing him, his gun jams. He says, soldier, come over, it's Tick. This is the first time we've ever seen Tick, and his face looks stern and just angry, and you could just see it, and it's a bunch of other emotions there, but he's doing his duty. So he goes up, cocks the gun, points it at Young Ja, blows her away, kills her, and they drag her body away. When she's shot, the blood splatters on G.I., and G.I. is in a total state of shock. She just saw her best friend executed before her very eyes. So now she is really feeling some kind of way. Now we fast forward a few months later after this incident, and Gia's in the hospital and she's doing her nursery duties, and they bring in another soldier, and she happens to look over at one of the beds and she sees Tick there, and her face just goes straight white anger. Sorry for the reference in color, but that's the only other thing of. She goes completely, just that look, that visage of, I want to kill you. I want vengeance on you. You killed my best friend. I want you done, sir. I want you done. So she goes over. She's still doing her duties, but she's still focusing on how she's going to kill this man. And she sees Tick. And this is where we see Tick probably at his most vulnerable. He's got his arm is injured, his leg is injured. He's sitting in the bed trying to read a book. The book is The Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, of shortening. Yeah, the book is The Count of Monte Cristo, and his glasses are broken. So he's trying to read, and you can tell he's frustrated. He tosses his glasses and he starts crying and he's irritated. This is where first time we actually see how the war can affect anybody. And Tick has become one of the stronger characters, but we're seeing what he had to endure while he was over there. So with Gia finally seeing him, she now realizes what she's got to do, and she has made it her point that she is going to kill him. He is going to be the final soul. So she meets a soldier, does the thing with him that she did with the other guy. Now she's at 99 souls. So now she's going to use Tick. Tick is going to be her 100th, and she's going to be free. But while she goes over one day to make up the bed for Tick, he has to get up, and he's struggling, and he's got cabin fever, and he wants to do something. So he helps her make his own bed, and they start to talk. She's trying to stay cold and distant, but he's not willing to let that go because this is someone who's willing to talk to. So we find out that they have some things that they could talk about, but there's a broken soul connection, I like to call it. They see they say to each other fragmented. They talk about the book. She's seen the movie. She gives her opinion. Tick has never seen the movie, but he's read the book. So he says, you're free to read the book. And of course, initially she walks away, but over time we start seeing there's a little more interaction to it. She starts seeing him as a human being. And as she gets to know him more, she starts falling back on that style of vengeance. And of course, also we see her go back to her mother and say, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And her mother's like, but I want my daughter back. I taught her this song. Da, 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 da. And this is after the last one. He's putting out the candles. The whole bedroom is bloody. Her mother is cleaning up after the last one. And she starts singing this song, and her mother starts crying. But then she says, you taught me that song. But that song, she sang that when your husband was raping her. So I really don't give a damn about how you feel. You use me as a tool for your honor, for your vengeance, and for your freedom away from this man. And now you want to try and get rid. So what's going to happen when he's gone, and then what? She's going to have all the memories of everything that she's done. And I thought about that. I was like, she's going to remember. This isn't something that's going to be a clean slate start over. This poor girl's going to remember everything that she's done and all the other souls. Because the KUMIHO remembers every soul, every memory from every man that she has absorbed. So during the course of Tick getting to know Gia, he invites her out. So she comes to the base, she's dressed up, and we meet one of Tick's friends who's a Korean American. He was drafted. This is another case of one being belonging nowhere. He's a Korean American who's called a gook in America, and over here in Korea, where he's Korean, they don't care. They don't accept him. So he is literally floating in limbo, but Tick is his best friend. So they set up the date where he brings her to a tent with a chair, and it looks like a screen. Tick meets her there, full uniform, sits her down, turned the tent into a movie theater, playing her favorite Julie Garland song. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. One of the most romantic things I've ever seen. Something I would do. Something I would definitely do. And she enjoys it. And that's where we see Gia approach Tick, because we find out what Tick is a virgin. So this is where we see her physically interact with him. She is on top guiding. and leading him and bringing him there. And of course, once again, like I said before, and my friend Angie observed, depending on where she is will depend on what's going to happen. She is on top this time, so she's got full control of the KUMIHO. And it seemed like everything is fine and they're getting along, everything is great. And then they get together and they oh my goodness. The fact that they got together, to me, they make a beautiful couple. I'm not gonna lie, they make a beautiful couple. But her mother doesn't like the fact that she is having feelings for Tick. And she wants her daughter back. And so she's even more colder against her. And she's like, no, Tick loves me. He's not gonna do that. And we find out that he does. But she comes to her one day and tells her that he's got enough points to go back to the States. And she, he says, I can stay. And she's basically telling him, I don't want you to go. Please don't go. And they make love. And if you notice the position, Tick is on top, G.I. is on the bottom. What happened the last time this was? She's getting into it. She's not really in full control. She's going with it. And here come the tendrils. Here come the tails from the nine-tailed fox spirit. And she fights to keep them off. They attach to his eyes. And she starts seeing not only his past, she sees his future. But she doesn't get totally into it. She doesn't fully connect to him. She fights it. He gets off. He's terrified at this point. He's scared as hell. What just happened? Grabs his clothes and he leaves. This will be the first time we have ever seen her mother show any kind of sympathy, because she's sitting on the edge of the bed and she's crying and she's in tears and she's bawling. So she goes into her mother. Her mother looks up at her. She sits down and she cries, and her mother holds her in her arms. And that was where her mother resolved, I'm going to get rid of this damn thing. I want my daughter back. Because she's seeing for the first time that though she's possessed by the KUMIHO, she is still G.I. They're still there. And she's feeling, and she's in hurt. She's in pain. She doesn't want Tick to go. But ultimately he ends up going. And so they go to see the Mudang, the one that initially brought the spirit of the KUMIHO. And as they're going there, she's running stuff in her mind of what she saw with Tick. And we see a scene where Tick looks like he's got these restraints around his chest and he's laying prone. We don't know if he's set up or laying down. We don't know. We truly don't know. And that's another speculation, which is why I love this show. So as they're going, the mother sees the Mudang over there in her hut. G.I. sees a red fox staring at her. Again, the KUMIHO is the spirit of a fox that's lived 1,000 years. And that fox is looking her dead in her eyes, and you could just kind of see that she knows what's going on. She knows what's going on. So they go over to the Mudang, and the mother says, I'll pay the cost, whatever. Just please take her out. He said, well, you're at 99 souls, and you think this is going to be I can just do this? Oh, no. And the Mudang tells her, what you want as a mortal is meaningless, and you're going to have to see more deaths before it's done. And it ends right there. When I talk to you about more questions and answers, I bugged out. There was more skin in this episode than a little bit, but there was still the symbolism of possession and the conflict between doing what's right, doing what's right for yourself or your family or your pride or anything like that. And I loved it. Now, a lot of people didn't like the slower pace. I honestly loved the slower pace because there are always going to be questions. So now we have a piece of the puzzle that fits in with what Tick has been doing. Why does he keep calling Korea? Who is the lady he's talking to? Now we know who she is. And now we keep saying, how did you know? Because she saw the future. She saw ahead, something she'd never done with anybody else. And that was because the link that she had with him was an emotional one. The others were just a means to an end until she got to Tick. And not only did she see his past, she saw his future. And she fought it because she didn't want him to die. She did not want him to be one of the 100. So we know that Tik truly loved her and Ji-ah truly loved him. That's why she didn't want him to leave, because she did not want him to die. She knew if he came back to the States, he was going to die. Straight up, plain and simple. She wanted to prevent that. But, once again, Tik is going to do what he needs to do. He was ready to go home, though he was tired of the war, which I understand too. After everything he's seen and he's endured, he's ready to go. And war will take a bit of your soul out of you. So I completely understand that. But you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I really, really did. The inclusion of regional mythology from another culture to still push the story and to still see that there's a lot more going on and what the significance is of this story in relation to the overall story is brilliant. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what about Hippolyta and Dee? Don't worry. Next episode, we're going to get a lot more on that. If you've seen the preview for episode 7, you already know there's a lot more going on. But I loved this story. I loved seeing how fractured souls and fractured people can still come together and find a common ground and even find love and find acceptance despite the crazy madness in the world with Korean War going on. Fighting for communism. Everybody's just trying to live a life, and you know, it goes from vengeance to understanding to connection to love, and how people who had their own agenda, who were truly content on just making everything all right for themselves, can have a change of heart and realize there's a lot more going on than what I want. So, Meet Me in Daegu, I loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It didn't have the fast-paced tenseness that the other episodes I had, but you can't get that all the time. Sometimes you need just a chance to sit back, slow down, and to think. There was so much going on, so that was me. I enjoyed it. I've been enjoying it thus far. This has been a fantastic journey. Lovecraft Country, episode 6. Definitely put it up there. So, yeah, as an anime fan, I really geeked out when I saw the KITSUNE. The KUMIHO. KITSUNE in Japanese, Nine-Tailed Fox, you know. This guy again, you know. So thank you so much for checking me out, guys. Thank you so much. So what did you think of the episode? Did you see something I didn't? Was there symbology in there that I missed? Did you perhaps see it from a different standpoint or different viewpoint? Or did you catch something that I missed? I love listening and reading your guys' comments because y'all have brought some things to my attention that I didn't realize before, and hopefully I was able to bring something to you as well. It's always a give and take. We always want to exchange ideas and theories and thoughts and observations, and I love that, okay? Thank you so much for checking me out. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for viewing my videos. Thank you for enjoying my videos. Thank you for sharing my videos. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you to my ride or dies. Thank you guys for supporting my podcast, Blerdicorn Speaks. We have been having a blast with this, and in our podcast episodes, we've been talking about Lovecraft Country too, so now there's 2 people talking about it as well. So give it a shot. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms for podcasts. Blerdicorn Speaks. Check it out. All right? Thank you so much, you guys. Please be safe. Please make sure you watch these, cover this, stay this far away. And as always, as I ask you beautiful, lovely people to do for me, stay nerdy, stay geeky, please stay sexy, and I asked before, please stay safe. I want to see you guys next time. We're going to do episode 7, and I want to see what Hippolyta becomes. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. I'm ready. Bye, guys.